After 5 years, they will come back to you, knocking at your doors, begging for your votes, asking for everything. And at that time, people turn emotional. They either align with the party or the ideology that they think is close to their heart and then go on voting, irrespective of what the candidate has done for the constituency or for that very area. And once he is elected, then he forgets his responsibility, and ultimately it is the people who are taken for a ride. Hello, dear friends. Today I am going to talk about an issue which is about the developing the society and the country. And the topic that I have decided to talk about is, does the responsibility of developing the society or the nation lie with the people, or it lies with the politicians in power? Well, I do believe that both are equally responsible for the development of the society or a country. Because if we generally see that people are the ones who choose politicians, and politicians are the ones who are blessed with the responsibility of running the affairs and developing the country. But now, why people are responsible? Because people cannot shirk their responsibility by just voting in the elections and then sitting idle at home. No, they have to ensure that the people who have been chosen to the power, or who are now saddled with the responsibility of leading from the front, must take the right course. But it has been generally seen that people think that their job is over for 5 years. They forget that they have to make these very politicians accountable. Now, as far as the politicians are concerned, they are the ones who think that they have been given the responsibility for 5 years. Now, it is the way they think they can decide, implement, and produce the policies and programs for the society. Now, if people are not going to keep a watch on the activities of these very politicians, if they do not raise voice at different intervals of time, and if they will not ask questions of these very politicians, how is it then possible for these very politicians to go on doing things on ground? They will never do, because they think that they are not answerable, and if they are answerable, they will be answerable in the election year. After 5 years, they will come back to you, knocking at your doors, begging for your votes, asking for everything. And at that time, people turn emotional. They either align with the party or the ideology that they think is close to their heart and then go on voting, irrespective of what the candidate has done for the constituency or for that very area. It is for this reason I find people responsible. If a political party or a candidate comes up with a particular manifesto, then is it not the responsibility of that very particular area and the people of that area to ask questions about the implementation of the manifesto, whether the promises made through that manifesto were kept or not? Even I have seen people do not raise voice for smaller things. If there is a street, or there has to be a lamp post, or there has to be the tap water made available to the people in a particular area, they will not raise voice. And that's where I believe these politicians take the people for granted. Now, it is here that I believe that as far as the people are concerned, they are surely responsible, and 70% of the responsibility lies with these very people, because they are the ones who elect them. They're the ones who go and vote. They're the ones who actually empower these people to rule us. Now, as far as the politicians are concerned, they no doubt will come up with different excuses. They will also be there coming up with honey-strapped promises. People get trapped. They get easily carried away. They think that this is the kind of party or this is the kind of politician who needs to be given a chance. And once he is elected, then he forgets his responsibility, and ultimately it is the people who are taken for a ride. Now, politicians must also understand that they can fool the people 1 or 2 or 3 times, but they cannot fool all the people all the times. It is never possible. At one particular point of time, they will have to face the wrath of the people. And it is here that the people will have to rise. I don't say that any political party that does well and that surely thinks about the development and actually does the things on ground brings about the total development and transformation there in the society, that party has to be voted out of power? No, I never said so, and I will never say so. What I say is that people's responsibility increases with the voting process being over, because it is here that these politicians who came up with big lofty promises, their life has to be made difficult, because people have to ensure that the politicians fulfill the promises made to them. And if these politicians do not fulfill the promises, then it must be kept in mind that once they return in the next election, they must be shown the door. And it is here that I say that as far as the people are concerned, they are responsible, and the politicians are equally responsible, because people have no choice but to choose the politicians. And sometimes I think it's a choice not between good and bad, it's a choice between bad and worse. So here, if the people decide to go with one particular party or with one particular section of the politicians, then people have to ensure that that very particular segment of the politics is going to be really taken care of, and that this very particular group of politicians is there to help steady and also help steady the ship, and then also help overall development of that very particular area, society, wherever he belongs to and whichever constituency he is fighting from. Now, I come to the topic, which is also one particular issue is there, that most of the people think that how can they make politicians accountable? I don't think that it is that difficult. Thus, go to the people, make their life very, very difficult by asking very uncomfortable questions if they have not done what they had promised, and just go raising the questions, raising the voices through different platforms, through social media, through the electronic media. There are also going to be through these meetings and all that, the overall street meetings, and you can actually galvanize the people and prepare them for a different kind of the battle where they will make these politicians answerable and accountable. And if this is done, I'm 100% sure these very people will be forced to work. But since they know that they will never be asked any questions, the only thing that they have to ensure is that they win the election on the voting day. And once that is done, then they think for 4.5 years they have nothing to do. They will run the government, they will do the things the way they want. They will actually be working at the whims of their own, will never look into the problems of the people, because they know that for 4 years, people will not remember them. Public memory is notoriously short, so they will not be remembered. But then during the last year of the election, they will come back and will start also playing gimmicks with the people and then coming up with the promises. Again, they will be honey-coated, and they will be putting old whiskey into the new bottles and offering it to the people that they are surely going to change the society, change the overall course. That is where one has to be very watchful, one has to be very careful. If any politician, any political party has delivered, then no issues with that. But if it has not, then it has to be taught a lesson.